Welcome to the 2014 MIT Chief Business Plan Contest finale. I want to get started by introducing the VP of Business Plan Contest, Zhao Zhao, and she will give us a quick introduction of the contest. And
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2014 MIT Chief Annual Conference. And now it's the time to unleash your imagination as we are at the most exciting session, the Business Plan Contest finale now. So are you curious, what are the drivers behind the dramatic growth of this innovation community over the past years? And which country has led the charge year over year, and which technology fields tend to be the most popular annually? So I will demystify all the above questions and give you a peek into the Business Plan Contest. So what do? The MIT Chief Business Plan Contest is aimed at contributing to a global entrepreneurial ecosystem in the greater Boston area. And we're dedicated to equipping entrepreneurs with the resources from both the US and China, nurturing and supporting entrepreneurs, immersing their startups into the US and the Chinese market, and connecting entrepreneurs with local resources such as funding, industry expertise, and legal services. And how we do it. The Business Plan Contest, which held annually since 2011, serves as a platform to gather the business ideas globally. And this year, only 2 months after we launched this program, over 200 ideas were submitted from 18 different countries. And among these 200 ideas, 52 of them were selected as the semifinalists and advanced into the second round competition. And all of these ideas were generated from 5 areas. They are healthcare, product and services, web IT, mobile, clean tech, and social impact. They address the problems and tackle the issues ranging from renewable energy, disease diagnosis, to software development, beauty, fashion, even design. And this year, 73% of the ideas were generated from US and followed by China, India, Bangladesh, Canada, and other countries. And generally, the product and services, web IT, mobile, and healthcare, each of them takes up around 25%, with the clean tech and social impact taking the remaining 22%. So how we nurture these business ideas, because we not only judge these business plans, we offer the value-added programs. The co-founder day, the mentorship program, demo day, and the China trip are all geared to make our entrepreneurs successful. And what's more, the legal, financial, and marketing workshops help them fill the knowledge gap and fine-tune their business plans. In the past 6 months, 10 team members with the great dedication of over 1,000 hours to develop the best way to put together today's show. And of course, I want to take a few seconds to say thank you to our almost 100 practice judges. Without your support and dedication, we are not able to make it today. And I also want to extend our gratitude to a stellar panel of the finale judges who will be calling today's race. Thank you so much for being here with us. And your insightful words and advices will always have the power to transport us, empower us, and inspire us. I still remember in the last couple of months, I got the phone calls, text messages, and tons of emails in the early morning or even at midnight asking how to submit the application online, or what should be the font size of the business plan, or the VPN connection issue for some teams in China. And of course, I responded. And I'm so glad we don't need a Facebook account for the registration. But what I do want to point out here is we have witnessed the growth of the 200 teams, from starting a new idea with uncertainty and ambiguity to going all the way against the society norm to be a real entrepreneur. So we got some good feedback as well. I remember there's a female-led startup based in New York City. And I got an email from the founder, and she just can't wait to share the great news with us. Her brand new idea and product obtained extensive public attention from the social media dozens of science websites and blogs, both domestically and internationally, and over hundreds of web entries and repostings after getting involved into our program. And this is just one of those stories. So I know not all the 200 ideas could have their presence here today, but I believe and we believe they are all phenomenal concepts today and will be the phenomenal products in the market in the near future, and we'll see them. So that's why when people ask why we're doing this, I think this is quite the answer. And today, only 6 teams, the 6 finalists, representing the 200 teams globally gathered here to compete. And they are from Santa Rosa, Philadelphia, Cambridge, Chicago, Cambridge and Chicago. So we already ignited your ideas, and now it's the time to get our entrepreneurs up here. It's your time to showcase and surprise us. Thank you.
So now we're gonna go over a little bit about the logistics of the finale. So we have 6 finalist teams. Each will give a 10-minute pitch, followed by a 5-minute Q&A session from the judges. And at the end, we'll invite all the judges on stage and give some general comments about the teams. We'll have three third-place winners with $1,500 in cash, and 2 second-place winners with $3,000, and 1 first-place winner with $10,000.
And to decide who wins the $10,000, we have a panel of really, really experienced judges, and which I will introduce one by one. Judges, when your name's called, please stand up and kind of wave to the back so that people can see you. We'll do it really quickly. Let's start with Elaine Chen. Stand up. Yep. Oh, yeah. Stand up and wave to the audience behind you. Thank you. Next up, we have Joe Chen, who we heard from this morning, CEO of Renren. And we have Teresa Kavanaugh, the partner at Blue Wing Capital. Next up, we have Fan Li, the partner at IDG Capital. And then James Liu from Renren, who's not here yet, but will be here really shortly. And Matthew Norton from Venrock Capital. Terry Russell from Interface Ventures. Tilak from Energy Efficiency Northeast Utilities. And then Stan Telson from Intel and GE Care Innovations. Jingling Wang from TEC Angel Fund. And Victor Wang from Zen Fund. And Xiao Wang from InnoSpring. Xiaoping Xu from Zhen Fund. And Eugene Zhang from TEC Angel Fund. Okay, so that concludes all of our judges. So thank you all for taking your time to come here today. We'll start by introducing our first finalist team, Promethean. It's a team from University of Florida. Promethean Pharma is dedicated to advancing health equity and access to therapies for diverse populations using its platform technology for transdermal delivery of peptide or protein drugs. Applying a lean approach, Promethean Pharma identifies areas of commercial and strategic interest amenable to streamlined regulatory path and shorten time to market across broad therapeutic landscapes. I'll let them
It's on. Everybody hear me? Mic on? Sorry for the loud crinkling. All right, can everybody hear me? Awesome. My name is Devin Grimet with Prometheon Pharma, and I'm here to introduce our Topicon Thermomatrix transdermal patch technology for needle-free delivery of large peptide drugs. What does that mean? Basically, what we're trying to do is take insulin therapy and other injectable therapies that look like this for a week's worth of insulin and turn it into this. We have a needle-free patch technology, platform technology for delivering large molecules, larger than have been able to be delivered so far, completely painlessly transdermally. So we can deliver things like HGH. Eventually, we plan to get into vaccines and a lot of other drugs that are currently injectable we can repurpose into our patch technology. So what we have is a global problem. We have a breakthrough product that aligns stakeholders and increases access to these kinds of therapies, and a proven team that will execute on these things, and a clear phased path to revenue, which is really important in the biotech and pharma space because it reduces risk along the way and allows us to be sustainable very quickly. And so we're trying to create a world with no pricks. And that was our social media campaign, getting rid of needles. We engaged with a lot of people online, and people got a kick out of that. So Time recently called diabetes the Asian disease, and there's good reason for that. There are about 10% of both the Chinese and the US populations have diabetes currently, which translates to about 100 million people in China, 30 million in the US. And coming down the pipeline with prediabetes, there are 500 million people in China, and there are about almost 100 million in the US. And that's costing both governments and societies and insurers tons of money, tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. But the direct market that we're looking to access is 1.2 billion in China roughly, and is $10 billion in the US annually. And so there's major issues for both the payers and for the patients that use these products, which are two kind of sets of customers. So let's talk about the patients. Their problem is basically that this is what insulin therapy looked like in 1922 when it was first discovered and developed, and this is what it looks like today. Hasn't changed in almost 100 years. There's daily injections, there's pain, they're tied to a refrigerator or a cooler if they're looking to travel, and people that don't have those things just don't have access to it in rural and developing nations. There's a high cost associated with it. There's a lot of needle reuse, waste, and infection. And there's poor compliance because of all these major issues. And so what we're looking to do is use convenience to increase compliance, which improves clinical outcomes and decreases complications, and that leads to a better quality of life for all the patients affected. So people may have heard of patches before. There's a lot of patches for things like pain, for estrogen patches, nicotine patches. Those are all very small molecules, about 250 Daltons. And it's long been thought that you couldn't get anything bigger than 500 Daltons across the skin without some sort of injection. We've done human growth hormone at 22,000 Daltons, so we've shattered that by 100-fold. And so when you hear insulin patches, there are other competitors' insulin patches. They're microneedles. This is what they look like under magnification. What we're talking about is a very simple, elegant, basically a medicated Band-Aid. It's solid at room temperature, so it makes cold storage much less of an issue, and transitions to a gel when you apply it to the skin, and it starts delivering drugs. Next question, of course, does it work? And the answer is yes, it does. So on the left side, we have a graph that shows a group of rats that we tested with injection versus on the right patch. On the left with injection, as happens with humans, sometimes you get a little bit therapeutic effect, sometimes you go all the way hypoglycemic, and sometimes you just get a little bit of effect, but it's not very predictable or consistent. With the patch on this side, you can see that it's very consistent, very predictable, and a very smooth curve. And when we take it off, it's a nice curve back up. So when I talk about our insulin patch, I'm talking about basal insulin. It's the foundation for all insulin therapy. Eventually, we'll get to those bolus premeal patches as well. I also mentioned a potential hair growth product. And something we discovered when we were messing around with insulin, we were able to tweak our formulation a little bit and grow hair on genetically engineered hairless rats. So on the top, both sides on the first slide is before treatment. The middle slide is 26 days of treatment. And then the last slide, or the last picture, is 39 days after that. So the top is our formulation, the bottom is Rogaine, minoxidil. And Rogaine is 50,000 parts per million, Ours is 1 part per million. So a very, very low amount of drug needed for a very pronounced effect. You can see that ours actually grew more hair after the 39 days of stopping treatment, and Rogaine is known to have all the hair fall out afterwards as well once you stop. Let's talk about our competition. There are a few other players in the market. Of course, insulin is a huge, huge market. There's Afrezza, which recently was approved. It's an inhaled insulin. There's other microneedle patches, and there's other hardware devices. They fall into 3 categories: needle injection or microneedles, pills and inhalers, and other devices. So the microneedles and needle injection is painful, it's inconsistent, and it limits access quite a bit. And the pills and inhalers, they're very inconsistent doses because they all go through first-pass metabolism through the body, which removes a lot of the drugs. So it's not a very consistent or efficient process, and it's a complex administration. With other devices, they're basically very invasive, hardware intensive, and they're expensive because they need batteries and expensive hardware. So on measures like whether or not it's invasive, whether or not it reduces the cold chain or how much cold storage you need, and simply just cost, our product is much better. And that competitive advantage just comes from the fact that we focus on patients. It's all about convenience for the patient. When you make it more convenient for the patient, they're going to comply more, which is better for their physician. It's better for the payers who are paying for it. It's better for the manufacturing process because it's less expensive, needs less drug because it's more efficient in delivering. And it increases market access in 2 ways. Because of the fact that it is so simple and so inexpensive, and the fact that it doesn't need cold storage, you can get and include people in the market that are both geographically and economically excluded currently. And finally, it's better for the earth. It's a simple Band-Aid, doesn't break the skin, there's no biohazardous waste to dispose of, and so you don't see needles being reused or thrown into streams and rivers. For our marketing strategy, we've already begun engaging with the diabetes online community. We've gotten some great responses, and that was our No Pricks social media campaign. So we've already started to get people interested in this, and we've had an amazing tens of thousands of interactions with people that are very ready for this. As we move into FDA trials, we will start to gain preferred status from insurers and from governments because of the fact that this is going to be less expensive, both initially in administering and reducing the complications, which are the most expensive part. As we start to finish up the FDA trials, that's when we'll bring in a professional marketing, sales and marketing firm, distribution firm. They do this in their sleep. They know the drug distribution and sales market. We'll leave it to the experts. And we'll start by targeting type 2 adult diabetics because they're the most receptive to this kind of technology. Type 1s have a very tight control. And so they're a little bit more resistant to changing things up. So when it comes to the operations, our focus is just developing the science and optimizing the formulation in-house. We're a very small, very lean operation, and we're very agile and can go where the market demands us to go. The patch technology is a very well-established industry, and so we already have partners identified. It's a very easy kind of plug and play. There's no new machinery that needs to be built or designed for manufacturing these patches. All of the ingredients are commercially available, so we're able to integrate that very easily. We're not reinventing the wheel or doing anything completely crazy here. And we'll engage a professional sales and marketing force to bring this to market because, again, that's their expertise, and that's a very expensive thing to try to develop a competency in. And long term, we want to establish local distribution centers in different continents, different areas to make sure that the cold chain is reduced and create sustainable jobs. Talking about the team, excuse me. We have the inventor of the technology and the CEO, CSO, Dr. Stephen Shu, who's here. He is Harvard trained. He has held multiple international chair positions and won multiple international awards. And he's previously commercialized a product. Our director of marketing and communications holds that same title for the University of Florida College of Engineering. And she's also represented Turner Broadcasting Corp, China.com, and a formerly McDonald's-backed restaurant. I myself have helped start 2 profitable startups, and during my time in business school the last couple of years, I won case competitions at the state, regional, and national level. And our director of research and development, has her PhD in medicinal chemistry and her postdoc in pharmacodynamics. Our board consists of a world-renowned diabetes expert, a veteran corporate scientist that has commercialized products from discovery to market, a national security advisor, and an expert in sustainability. And finally, our R&D team, I've already mentioned, as well as I would throw in Grant, who is an excellent young chemist. Finally, we have a very clear path to revenue. We have a seed round that we're raising, and we also have a new model where we can charge $100,000 for a large company to test their molecule and our formulation to see if it's getting across the skin. That de-risks the proposition of trying to partner with us very early on as an early stage company and gets us sustainable revenue very early. In the medium term, some of those fees will turn into licensing payments as they decide to commercialize a few of those technologies, and that could fund us completely through large animal studies and potentially even human trials. And then long term, we have the licensing royalties from those, and as well as our own product sales. And that'll take us about $80 million to get all the way through market. And from both the seed fund and de-risking by tying it to milestones, we'll be able to get there much more quickly. So we have a convertible debt round open, $100,000 minimum investment, 6% interest, 15% discount upon first use in humans. And we're going to use that for basically overhead. Oops, sorry, I guess I am done. That's it. Thanks very much.
So the team has done their presentation, and now we're moving on to their Q&A session. Does any judge have any questions or comments?
Thank you for a very good presentation. I like how you chose diabetes as the beachhead market. My question is, if your focus is type 2, which is the majority of the market, isn't most of the patients not on needles, right? So most of them, are they on oral therapy right now, and how does that affect your market analysis?
So there are a lot of insulin dependent. Only a small fraction are actually on oral insulin drugs. That's a pretty new development and pretty new market. And because the type 2 market, is so large, even a fraction of there's a $382 million patients globally. 30% of those, 100 million people, are currently insulin dependent. And so only a fraction of those are on oral insulin, and any share of that will translate to very large numbers for us. Does that answer your question?
Do you mind relating again what is the proportion of the total diabetes market that's insulin dependent?
30%. So 120 million people globally. Something else that's very unique about this product is that those over 500 million pre-diabetic patients I mentioned, those are actually, a lot of those would benefit from an insulin therapy, but you can't really convince somebody that doesn't quite need to inject themselves multiple times a day to do so. By offering a patch, we could completely open up another market that's 3 times bigger than the current market already.
I have a question. Have you done a full comparison of pharmacokinetic and dynamics with the existing therapies in healthy humans? Because absorption through skin, the biggest problem with it is it's incredibly variable in different individuals. One of the biggest reasons why inhalable insulin didn't work as well is because it's impossible to standardize dosing. So you're going to be subject to a lot of serious clinical liabilities, including death, if you can't really standardize dosing. So I see that's the biggest problem. I mean, if you're going after to some other market, I think it's probably better, but insulin is a really unique case here.
Sure. You mentioned the fact that inhaled insulin has trouble. That's actually not a skin membrane that they're crossing in insulin. And I mentioned in there that that inhaled is very variable.
The reason why they go after that is because it's faster. Absorption is faster. You need really fast dosing in the case.
So transdermal technology, again, nobody's been able to deliver insulin transdermally. It's actually a very, very efficient and a very quick, rapidly absorbing method of delivery. It's very efficient. We're getting to the subcutaneous capillaries. We're not going very deep. And so there actually isn't a huge amount of patient-by-patient variance because it's such an efficient method. The individual variance comes from the lung tissues and cells in there, and as well as when you're injecting, sometimes it's going to be straight into the bloodstream where you can go hypoglycemic. Sometimes it's going to be into fat, sometimes muscle. So it's actually not a huge amount of variance. It's actually a very efficient method. Additionally, with the dosing, we found we only need about 10%, so 90% less active ingredient to get the same therapeutic effect. So by having the amount lowered that we're actually delivering for the same therapeutic effect, some of the negative effects are avoided as well.
So this is great. And
Thank you.
So once you have FDA approval, 2019, how are you going to protect your franchise, right? How are you going to protect fast followers from filing a 505B?
Sure, that's a great question. And we have strong IP filed. We have PCTs filed for all the major companies. We have it around the overall idea of delivering large molecules transdermally, and then we have individual, as we discover applications for it, we have individual filings for those. There's actually an NIH paper I discovered. Luckily, Steve, the inventor of the technology, didn't know that there was this rule of 500 in industry, saying that you can't get anything bigger than 500 across the skin. There's actually an NIH paper by staff scientists saying it's just too strong a barrier, nothing can get across it. I ran across it like 6 months ago. So people have not thought they could do it for the longest time. And impossible means we spent a lot of money on it, a lot of time on it. We couldn't do it, so nobody can. So luckily, like a lot of things that are kind of disruptive like this, he discovered it because he didn't know it was impossible, right? So there's a lot of people that didn't know, that thought this was completely impossible, so they're not really keen to follow us in terms of going after the same exact market. And again, with a strong blanket patent, we'll be in a position to be able to force them to license it if they want to use this kind of technology. So small molecules, yes, there's plenty of people that can go into the patch, and it is moving that way, but not for large molecules.
So what
This is
will
the
be,
last question.
all right, so, okay. So what will be the final format of the product? Do you need to keep it in some kind of temperature or something? What
So
would that be?
it's a solid at room temperature with around 27 degrees Celsius, and transitions to a gel upon skin application at 32 degrees Celsius. So as long as it's kept in room temperature like this, it's very stable. When we start talking about into some of the equatorial countries, we have a tweak on our formulation that we can do, and we will do eventually, that makes it very resistant to temperature changes. But the main thing is that we're going to reduce the necessity for cold chain from a major semi-local storage facility where it doesn't need to be in a refrigerator in the home. You know, it may be that somewhere 250 miles away, there is refrigerated storage, but out in rural areas away from that, they don't have refrigerated storage and don't need it because this product is stable at room temperatures and mild climates. Thanks.
Thank you for the team. And now we're moving on to the second team. The second team is Rapid SOS from Harvard University. Rapid SOS is an advanced emergency communication and management company. Their emergency communication platform allows citizens to instantly reach dispatchers in emergencies, enables emergency managers to alert people directly in harm's way, and leverages data from network to predict and preempt emergencies. We're going to welcome the second team on stage.
Thank you. Testing that this works.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And special thanks too to all the organizers. I think I sent Stephanie like a zillion emails, so thank you to all of you for putting on a great day. Great to be here today. I'm Michael. This is Nick, and you Wang. Just hit OK here. If you hit enable. Okay, great. And we're an advanced emergency communications company. So in earlier 2014, there was a string of kidnappings in China. And despite all the technology that these young women were carrying in their pockets, all had smartphones, none of them could be located. And it took one of them stealing her captor's phone and texting a friend saying, I'm kidnapped, I'm at this location, ultimately for the police to find her. The problem is that when you're in a life-threatening situation, when you're kidnapped, or if you're having a heart attack, you're supposed to get out your phone, you're supposed to dial a number, and then you're supposed to have a 3 to 5 minute conversation about what's occurring to you. And the reality is that even when you make that call, all too often that call is failing. So this is Denise Amberly. She was a 21-year-old mother of 2 in Florida when she was kidnapped from her home. Over the course of the next 6 hours, 5 separate 911 calls were made, but no one knew where she was. And tragically, Miss Lee was murdered. And as we dug into this happens millions of times every single year. I get a Google News alert every single night with 10 news stories of how 911 is failing. This is one of the biggest challenges facing us globally, and we're just not talking about it. Every year, there's over 1 billion emergency calls. They're all going through a 1960s copper wire-based system. So we bring technology to solve that problem. We have a team with experience executing on new technology, and we'll talk briefly about how that translates ultimately into an attractive investment opportunity. So starting with this problem, most of you are familiar with these stats. We're at the highest rate of mass shootings in US history. There have been 75 school shootings in this country since the Sandy Hook tragedy. 1 in 5 American women have been sexually assaulted. Over 1 billion emergency calls globally, 150 million of which are coming from China. Yet as we talked about, in these scenarios, when you're calling 911, you're going through a 1960s-based system. And what does that mean? That means 26% of all mobile 911 calls, for example, in the state of California, fail to get through the system. You can be in Silicon Valley, when you have an emergency, no one's there to pick up the phone. This is what that means. That means the city of Oakland says, don't call 911. They say, call this 10-digit number, and then if you can't get through, try this other 10-digit number. This is TechCrunch. They've been writing about. They said when I'm driving and when there was a fatal car accident in front of me on I-80, I could surf the internet, I could call France, but when I called 911, I was on hold for 20 minutes. New York Times has written about this. When you're in China, there's 3 separate emergency numbers you need to know. And then if you're a tourist or a traveler, you also need to know your consulate number and a host of other phone numbers there. At Harvard Business School, there's only one address on campus. So what they tell you to do is when you call 911, give them the library's address, then hang up with 911, call campus security, tell them where you really are. They'll meet first responders at the library and bring them to your actual location. And then all too often, this system fails. In the state of Washington, the whole system broke and 4,500 calls were lost. This is Macon County. They say if your house is on fire, you're supposed to walk to the fire department to let them know that your house is on fire. And so the fundamental issue here is that when you place an emergency call, you go to the nearest tower, you go through this copper wire system to the dispatch center affiliated with that tower. And then they ask you where you're located. Then they reroute you back to the right dispatch center. Right here in this room, we go to Framingham, Massachusetts. They reroute us back to the city of Cambridge. It's literally blocks away. We have to make all these relays. It's human interaction, human handoffs. All that creates opportunities for error. The way it ought to work is one push button on your phone that sends all the key information that 911 or 110 needs to respond to your emergency. We should go over any media possible. So if you don't have cell service, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. And we should use all the redundancy of the cloud to route that call. No more copper wires. How often does a cell phone call fail? It still happens. How often does Google go down? Basically never. And we've worked with Google to build that level of redundancy. And that brings me to the product. So we are turning this 1960s phone call into that 3-second push button on your phone. And it's kind of like putting an advanced blue light emergency alert in every single citizen's pocket, but really with advanced capabilities. So connecting over any media, precise location accurate to 10 meters. If you can't speak on the phone, our server will speak for you. We have an enriched data environment, a voice, text, videos, et cetera. We're compatible with every single dispatch center across the United States and over 135 countries globally. Now this is really important. No new training required, no new equipment required. We look like a regular inbound call to those dispatch centers. They don't even need to know we exist. We've extensively tested this and built this in partnership with over 80 dispatch centers globally. We also do geolocalized mass notification, so no longer do you have to build a database of everyone in your institution and then send out a mass text to all of them if there's some type of event. Instead, you circle an area on a map and notify everyone in that geo-defined zone about the emergency. It's basically a platform that we're running in the cloud. We're able to run products off of it. So the one-touch emergency alert, the geolocalized emergency warning. We can do advanced automotive telematics. We spent a little time with Tesla this summer on that. We've done some early work with New York City and Homeland Security on some anti-terrorism applications. And finally, with all the data going through the system, we can start to do really interesting things. Working with the city of Boston on traffic flow data, road conditions data, weather data, we can actually say there's a 13% increased likelihood of a car accident between mile markers 8 and 10 on the Mass Pike. We'll let the state police know and we'll stream that to your vehicle. Now, Nick's gonna walk us through a very short demo here on the first 2 products.
All right, so when a user presses the button on their phone indicating an emergency, we plug into the databases of all the dispatch centers. This is an example of what they might see on their screen. This is our back end. So immediately it pops up on a map where they are, all this extra information about them. Maybe we have blood type, medical allergies that they've given us. Then we can access all the advanced features of the phone, like view the camera feed, do two-way texting. The goal here is to really make the response more efficient. And so then on the geofencing side, say you want to alert all of Cambridge that there's a shooter on MIT's campus. We can draw a very detailed geofence and then input rich media like pictures, links, and translate it across various languages and mediums to everyone inside that zone.
And so what you saw here is our backend, but this is compatible with every single dispatch center. It comes through like a regular inbound call. Remember, today when you call 911, no location data, no information on the caller, no ability to text. We provide all that right away, all that functionality. We're a team that had personal experiences with this. That's what's brought this team together. So my mom had a heart condition in rural Indiana. When we had to call 911, we spent several minutes trying to figure out where we actually were located. Fortunately, everything ended fine, but it just happens all too often. We've all come together around that. It's a team from MIT, Harvard, Yale, and Columbia with a host of kind of big company and startup experience. So collectively, we've worked on a little over 70 startup companies, built mission-critical code for 2 national labs, have extensive mobile telecom experience, and have raised quite a bit of capital for startup companies. We were recently named the most innovative company in the public sector by Harvard, the best mobile tech at MIT, a host of other awards, and one of the top 10 university startups globally by founder.org. We work with an extensive set of advisors and mentors that have been so helpful in helping us understand how this space works. I mentioned we worked with over 80 dispatch centers to build the product. We also wanted to get out and talk to customers. So over 2 years ago, we started making these calls. We've spoken to over 500 institutions to date. And what we've heard again and again is just the seriousness of the challenge. Sexual assault, mass shootings, these are huge challenges on college campuses. And what we've done, and before we even had a product, is we were sharing this vision of what we wanted to do. We had 14 universities and 11 municipalities that raised their hand and said, we want to work with you to develop this product. And so that's what we're doing. So right now we're in beta with these 25 institutional partners. We have another 150 behind them that are ready to go once we prove out the product in beta. Here's some quotes. So we will be launching commercially in early 2015. I mentioned we're broadly applicable globally in over 135 countries. We monitor over 36 competitors in this space, but where we have core IP filing is we are the only company that can get data into the 911 1960s dispatch system. We spent a year figuring that out and a host of MIT PhDs to figure out exactly how to push data into that system. So just to wrap up on kind of how this turns into a sustainable business. So it starts with partnerships, working with these universities and municipalities so that we give them access to cutting edge technology and they get a chance to help shape this product with us. And then in exchange, there's a lot of value for us in building the right product and making sure that we're establishing credibility with them in partnership. And importantly, this unlocks users for us. So our first 9 universities represent 391,000 student, faculty, and staff. So this is kind of one of the groups that we're testing in beta with today. Institutions have a willingness to pay here. They spent $3 billion last year on campus security. Corporations spent over $5 billion. Municipalities spend money here. Consumers spend over $1.5 billion on OnStar, a service we provide for your entire life. OnStar provides for a tiny part of your life. Home security, elderly parents, et cetera. All this translates into an attractive, scalable business. So I mentioned in 2015, today we have 25 partners, 33 partners in 2015 drives about $4 million in revenue. Our partners pay us a small subscription charge, and then we offer a freemium app offering as well for the consumer space. In 2017, those 150 additional partners that we have ready to go, they drive another 35 million or so, or 45 million in revenue. It's a space where there's been a lot of M&A activity. So when you have disruptive technologies here, it tends to get bought at a very high multiple. But more than anything, it's about solving this problem. We're talking about one of the biggest technological problems facing us today, where no one is focused on it. And this is something that we can solve. We have a technical solution to do so, an experienced team with great partners to execute on that, where small incremental capital is ultimately yielding a multi-billion-dollar global opportunity. So with your help, we're going to solve this problem and transform emergency communication. Thank you.
So now is the Q&A session. Does any judge have?
So you talk about SaaS, you talk about the freemium. So which one is going to be bigger in the future, 5 years down the road?
Ultimately, it'll be on the kind of consumer piece and the freemium model. So there's 22 million college students in the United States, for example. These universities already pay $1 to $3 per student. So you're looking at, even if you upsell a little bit, $100 million opportunity. There's over 1 billion emergency calls globally. There's a strong desire for consumers to pay for certain aspects here. I mentioned OnStar, $1.5 billion a year. So we think the consumer piece is the bigger opportunity long term. Yeah.
So what you're doing is super cool. You gave a great presentation, but municipalities and universities are sort of notoriously slow and difficult customers. Yeah. What have the experiences of analogous companies in this field or other people who've tried to crack the same nut taught you about how long it takes and how much money you need to get to a sort of big business? That revenue growth plan seemed very aggressive.
Yeah, sure. So as Matt mentioned, there's been a host of companies that haven't had quite our technology stack but have operated in this space. And what we found, and also from some of our prior investing experience, is that selling to municipalities is like an 18-month type of cycle. And that's why we're not trying to sell anything to municipalities. We ultimately this is a product that works everywhere across the United States and broadly globally. They don't need to know we exist. So we ultimately want to monetize on the consumer piece. It just so happens that these institutions like universities, they are very motivated about these issues. We talked about Virginia Tech, Santa Monica shooting, et cetera. So there is a lot of movement there. There's also legislation like Title IX, the Clery Act. They're pushing like sexual assault solutions here. So the university market is more motivated, but you're still probably talking a 12-month sales cycle there at best. So that's why the consumer market is ultimately the first place that we'll look to see revenue.
There are probably two ways actually to tackle this exact same market. One is making sure that initiating the call is easier, which you guys are not actually going after. You're not going after the connected device, the emergency buttons. You're going after the backend is not efficient. But one of the reasons that the backend isn't efficient is because I've heard status where it's been evaluated that more than 60% of calls coming into 911 is prank calls or false alarms. That's probably why that those support centers aren't that sufficient or that helpful. But even if you make the backend better, you're not going to get rid of those deficiencies either. And given that it's really hard to sell into these markets, maybe there are better ways or easier way to do it. This is one of the reasons why consumer apps like Life 360 becomes really popular, because it's essentially making sure the qualification of the calls and help is getting handed into consumers and families of friends who actually care, and you don't prank your families or friends. So that's why that they are more efficient to do it. I just feel like there might be a lighter or more efficient or simpler way to make sure that same result come out through different type of products. This seems to be very, very heavy. So.
Yeah. So great point. So let me try to tackle those in sequence. So number one is we're only focused on the back end. 10 minutes, I didn't have time. There's all sorts of ways we integrate with wearables. All this data we can start transmitting. We're the pipe between you and 911 that doesn't exist today with all those capabilities. So we have actually, on some of the smartwatches, we can interface on a panic button. Secondly, on exactly, we do secure messaging like Life 360 does, to friends and family. That's kind of in the freemium offering on that piece of it. And then finally, on the prank calling, this was a big deal. Like, we worked with 80 dispatch centers. This was their number one concern. And so there's a lot of features built in so that it kind of discourages that. But number one is you create a user account. So we know if you have a history of pranking 911, their data comes in. And what's more, 911, we help them triage these inbound calls. So we actually tell them, hey, this is a high priority call. It's not caller number 30 about a car accident on the Los Angeles freeway. It's a heart attack across town. So we've worked with them on a lot of those questions.
I will ask my question in Chinese and let my partner Victor translate that.
Okay, these guys can help me.
Okay, my question is, 平时我们下载一个 app 对吧？不怎么用，但是遇到紧急情况，可能就忘了这个东西存在，对吧？结果万一要用的时候又忘了用了，结果就白白下载了，对不对？等到下一次遇到紧急情况，又忘了，你知道吧？所以这个你怎么 convert people into this awareness of your app in their smartphone?
His words don't need to be translated. This is Bob. What Bob says that usually people download a lot of apps for the future emergency use, but in the real case of emergency, a lot of people will forget to really use those apps. How can you raise the awareness of so letting people make it a habit of using this?
Yeah.
Good translation.
He's testing my street cred here. So Nick does speak a little Mandarin, and obviously Yu Guang. We have actually 6 Chinese nationals on the team, but I'm not one of them. So, it's a great point, and we talk about kind of the toothpaste model. You want a product that the consumer is touching multiple times a day. So the broader vision here is all this data we can start to stream to consumers and around them. So for example, there's a settings in the app where you can get traffic flow data. You can get a host of other emergency data, road conditions data, all streamed to your device. So we're trying to think about how can we better engage users on a kind of daily basis. Then we will do kind of the standard stuff on the app where it pops up occasionally. You've seen this on apps like Guilt Group where it says, just a reminder we're here, and there's a test mode. Make sure you're ready in case that emergency occurs. But absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was our last question because our time is up. So we're going to move to the next team. Thank you for your presentation. So our third team is GreenPoints from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. GreenPoints is a software as a service company that partners with global hotel chain to promote energy efficiency by providing hotel energy usage information in each hotel room. GreenPoints also provides hotels with ongoing analytics showing energy usage trends so they can recognize the opportunity for further energy reductions. Let's welcome GreenPoints.
Thank you. Can you hear us all in the back? Good afternoon, everybody. So I am Jason, this is Stella, and we're the co-founders of Greenpoints. And before we get into what Greenpoints actually stands for and what the company's about, we'd like you each to take a step back and think about the last time that you were in a hotel and some of the behaviors you might have had while you were there. Did you leave a lot of lights on, possibly even when you weren't in the room? Maybe you left the thermostat a little bit warmer than you would have at home. Just because it is really cold outside, and isn't it great to go back into a nice and warm and toasty room when you get back out of this cold weather? So these are a few customer behaviors that are actually pretty prevalent in the hotel industry. And a lot of guests actually exhibit the same behavior. And this is what Greenpoints is actually aiming to address.
The hotel industry itself is an energy-intensive industry. 6 to 7% of the hotel revenue goes into the electricity bill. A 20% to 30% savings of that could create enormous economic value. Before business school, I worked in an international hotel chain in China and started to see a lot of hotel energy saving programs were initiated. And most of them were capital intensive and intended to increase the investment in the hotel physical facilities. None of them actually consider the single most important stakeholder in the whole process, which is the hotel paying guests themselves. We have conducted an initial test in a local Philadelphia 5-star hotel and trying to understand whether different guests reveal different energy usage behavior. And the results shows us that there is at least 30% difference between different guests when they stay in a hotel and use their energy. And this actually gives us a lot of inspiration to try to think about how to engage the hotel guests into the energy saving process. Energy saving is not just what Greenpoints believes in and strives for. All those international hotel chains have aggressive hotel energy savings goals and carry out sustainability reports regularly. Starwood hotels, for example, with brands like Sheraton or Westin, they have a goal of reduce 30% of the energy usage by 2020. Only by upgrading the hotel physical facility would not be sufficient to achieve that. And this is exactly where Greenpoints would play in. So who is Greenpoints? And what kind of value do we deliver? We provide hotel with energy usage data per room, on a per room level, review guest energy usage behavior, and incentives guests to reduce their energy consumption. We provide data, analytics, and energy saving solutions for hotels. Greenpoints is different from the existing solutions, energy saving solutions that in the market. Some of the disruptive players in this zone, as you could see as Nest, Opower, or Zonoff, they focus in the residential area and try to change people's behavior at their home to reduce energy consumption. For Greenpoints, we want to dedicate it in the hotel space, and we believe there's a bigger potential here because people are more wasteful in hotels compared to when they stay at home. From US government REST data, we could see that there is at least 30% potential by changing people's behavior to reduce the energy consumption at people's home. And as we mentioned, we believe this will be even a bigger number in the hotel space. In the business model of Greenpoints, the first level, Greenpoints provides hotel with energy usage data on a per room level. We've talked to many hotel general managers, and none of them has an understanding of how much people use on a per room level or per guest level. We believe that data is the first step to reveal further energy saving potential. On the second level, Greenpoints incentivize guests to save energy by a rewarding structure. All major hotel chains have a guest rewarding program, which offers guests with free night stays or other rewards. All Greenpoint needs to do is to tap into that reward program and add into another layer of energy savings. And also, as hotel staying guests, you and me, we have the possibility to understand our own energy usage data. On the third level, we provide hotel a way to differentiate themselves with a green image. We actually help hotels to engage hotel guests to let them interact with their guests with an interactive, fun, and social manner. Green Monitor is our key product to capture hotel room energy usage by a room level and communicate to guests about their energy footprint and capture the data, enabling a back-end cloud computing and analytics. Ms. Elaine Chen, please allow me to use you as an example. For example, you stay in a Boston hotel for 3 nights, and you have accumulated 500 hotel points because you have outperformed 80% of the hotel guests in energy usage. And this morning, you receive a message from Green Points telling you that by adjust your room temperature by 2 degrees, you'll be able to earn another 200 hotel points. Would you be willing to change your hotel temperature, room temperature, and reduce your energy footprint?
Thank you, Stella. Yeah, and we do hope that that's a resounding yes. So as far as the second part of our business, green analysis is it's the back-end analytics that we're providing hotels as well. And there are a few different things. And this is actually, it's very open-ended because they've never had this level of detail and data before. So part of what we're going to do is really just collect some detailed data, mine through it, understand some additional opportunities that hotels can actually get. A few of which are listed here. One of which that we're particularly excited about involves mapping out guest energy usage profiles. So if you think about a guest that maybe has they have a warmer room temperature than typical guests, we can actually put them in a part of the hotel that's naturally warmer. They're using less heat. The hotel is ultimately saving energy. So as far as the market potential here, there's about $600 million if you compare and really look at the top 10 hotel chains and the reduction in energy savings that they're trying to achieve over the next few years. We did put these assumptions and some very conservative ones as far as market penetration and actual guest energy consumption data in our model. We found that in year 5, Green Points would actually generate about $12 million in one-time device sales, and then a recurring revenue stream of $9 million for the recurring fees, which I'll talk to in a second. So what's in it for hotels? There are really a few different things. One, as Stella had mentioned before, hotels are really looking for new, innovative solutions to solve this problem and really achieve their energy savings in the future, because traditional ones are really starting to run dry and they're not as efficient as they used to be. So it is very attractive to hotels, and it fits within their investment criteria as far as a 3-year break-even point. And the last thing too is with an NPV of $21,000 per building over that 8-year period, it is economically attractive as well. As far as revenue sources, there are really 3 main sources. The first one is there's that one-time initial revenue, which comes from a device sale to the hotel. Then there are 2 recurring revenue streams. One of them is a maintenance fee, which is fixed, and the last one is an ongoing analytics fee. And what we did here was we really tied that fee to, it was a performance-based fee that works with basically the more energy that a hotel saves that we can provide them with, we'll actually get a percentage of that. So essentially it's a win-win. The more energy that a hotel saves means we're actually making more as well. So obviously being in a new space, there are a lot of different risks, some of which we've outlined here. One of the biggest ones is, well, how much can we actually change behavior, and is it really worthwhile and significant? And that's actually what our next step is as far as our minimum viable product test, which we're going to address very soon. So the MVP test that we're trying to do is essentially taking 2 groups of people over a 1-month period and analyzing their energy usage trends. So on one hand, we're going to have people that opt into the program, and they actually are getting incentivized, they're trying to get rewards, so they're trying to actively save energy. The second group is a group that opts out and decides not to change their habits, and over that 30-day period, we're going to compare the energy usage between the 2 groups. Now what we're hoping to find is that the group that was incentivized can reduce their energy consumption by about 15 to 30% as we predict. That'll validate our hypothesis. We are working with a partner, Philadelphia Hotel, as well. So as far as steps after that, once we get the green light and the MVP test proves to be successful, we're going to finalize our device. We're working with a few engineers in the Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Drexel University community nearby school. We'll finalize the device, and then we'll actually test it in that partner Philadelphia Hotel. Finally, they actually have access to a network of 45 other hotels, so we'll have immediate access for our soft launch, and then after that proves to be successful as well, we'll go into our full launch across all the top chains. And last but not least, a little bit of background on our team, Stella and myself. As you can see, nearly a decade of experience, not quite a decade. We're still kind of young, I think. But yeah, about 4 years in the hospitality business and also some engineering experience as well and some startup experience. So with that, we'll leave it to any questions.
So Thank you for your presentation, and we're taking questions from the judges.
So I may or I may not, I haven't decided yet, because I'm going to ask you, what is your beachhead market? So you look at these large chains, Starwood, they have a large range of properties from 3 stars to 5 stars. You're starting with 5 stars, possibly, executive business. Like what is the customer profile you're focusing on first? Is it the business travel? Is it the luxury, person who's on vacation? Is it the budget traveler? How much segmentation have you done so far?
Yes, I guess one of the...
So we definitely plan to start from the high-end 5-star hotel chains, as we mentioned, Marriott, Hilton, Starwood hotels. And I used to work on a hotel feasibility analysis, and usually the hotel energy cost per room does have the difference between a 5-star hotel and a budget or economy hotel. For example, for a 5-star hotel compared to a 3-star hotel, usually it's 20% or 30% more per room level. We consider all those potential hotels. We have an opportunity out there, but we will start from the 5-star one. And another thing is for all those hotel chains, they have brands ranging from 5-star to sometimes to 4 or 3-star or even economy hotel. So if we could start with them from the luxury level, then we could explore further opportunity to go into a lower level, which will provide us a more number of hotel properties to tap into.
I guess as far as a customer segmentation also, originally GreenPoints it came about with the idea that we'd be offering rewards points for business travelers, people that have that incentive. Those points are relatively cheap for a hotel as a cost, but they're highly valued for a lot of business travelers.
Okay. So you have a revenue projection breakdown. You have a device and you have analytics. My first question is, without knowing what device is, why device is important? Why not just give it up and just sell on analytics? That's my first question. The second question is, what is the device? What are the integration points you have with the hotel systems?
So as far as I guess maybe to touch on your second question first, as far as what the device is. So essentially what we have is the technology behind it. It works through induction, so you actually can take off the circuit breaker panel of a hotel, one of the floors in the hotel, and then connect in basically magnetic sensors. So it's very non-invasive. There's no drilling into walls. There's no room alterations that aren't easily fixable. Actually, there's no alterations, I should say. So it's a very quick installation, about 5 minutes to just take off that panel. That'll actually give us those readings, and then from there we actually wirelessly transmit that into the devices and also into a central system, so the front desk can see when you check out that you've earned 500 points for your stay.
To answer your first question, we consider the intersection in the hotel room, and that guests could actually see the screen and see the data is important because our key objective is to engage guests in the whole process. So if the guests could see that they're ranging among the top 20% of not just the guests staying within this hotel, but for example, the SPG loyalty program around the world, then I think that's very interesting data for the guests to know about.
So 2 questions. First, about your market entry strategy, focus on five-star hotels, but it feels like the budget hotels has a higher percentage of their cost in electricity. Therefore, they probably have a higher incentive to adapt in technology. Secondly, with the Shell Gas North America going online pretty soon, the cost of electricity actually going down. How are you going to face? Have you taken that into consideration of your forecast?
So one of the things that we are looking at, so as energy costs do go down, the plan was really to set about a 5-year benchmark and see where the trends are headed. And we'd actually want to have essentially the savings that we could pass on to the customer, because one of the risks is as energy costs go down, customers begin getting less rewards, but they're changing their behavior in the same way. So now they're frustrated and they're less likely to continue with the program. So by actually setting that baseline a little bit lower initially, we actually get the hotel will actually get initial savings that are a little bit greater, but as I guess as energy costs become more efficient and energy costs go down, sorry, getting a little oh yeah, sorry.
According to your first question about the economy hotel, we did think about that. The only issue that we want keep us focused on the 5-star hotel would be for economy hotel actually. the hotel owners, of the real estate investors, they actually have a lower budget to invest in this kind of like device selling, given the assumption that we want to sell the device first. So our device, like per device cost, would be $100 when we sell to the real estate developers. So we take consideration of the affordability of actually the hotel owner that we're selling to.
7% of the revenue, right?
Right. Right. That.
So even for a $100 rate room, they could recoup that cost in about 10, 15 days if they use your device.
So one of the data will show that per hotel room per year, the average energy usage is $2,200. So a 20 to 30% savings would, right? And according to your second question, the electricity cost, we did not take consideration of the reduced of the cost of electricity, which we will look into. But as we mentioned that the energy reduction goal of the hotel groups, they are by 2020. So I'm not sure, like by them, whether the electricity cost would reduce as by 2020, matched with the time frame.
So I've got two related questions. There is some studies out there that suggest that consumers spend 9 minutes a year thinking about their electricity usage. So I want to challenge the premise that when you're in a hotel, you actually want to think about it more than you when you're at home, right? The second thing is when that room is rented, right? It appears that your solution assumes that the person is going to be in the room staring at that screen. I imagine most of the time that the room is rented, the guest is not in the room. They're just coming back to sleep. So wouldn't you just be better off putting an occupancy sensor and tying it to the building management system? You're going to get much more bang for the buck than any of this, I would think.
So I guess, yeah, to answer the first question, so we are trying to employ a little bit of gamification. So customers can, I guess you could say, friendly or compete in a friendly environment with that social ranking system. So you can actually see how you're doing versus other guests in the hotel room. We think that that is a pretty good incentive that might still draw people in as far as trying to keep this fun and motivating people to save energy. As far as the second question.
For the second question, I think we are trying to make the intersection in the hotel room, like the information as engaging and interesting as possible for the guest. And we come up with the idea of like accumulating hotel points. It's also because we conduct survey and it shows that people who frequently stay in hotel, they do care about the star points and the pleasure that bring to them when they could stay in the hotels for free nights for their vacations.
Thank you, Green Points. So we're gonna welcome our fourth team. Our fourth team is WeApp from University of Southern California. WeApp is a software application designed to increase collection and recycling rates of personal electronic devices by utilizing on-screen user analytics and other key enabling technologies. When prompt to action, WeApp engages the user as intelligent personal assistant, providing customized information and timely access to convenient recycling solutions. Let's welcome WeApp.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. We are very grateful for this opportunity. My name is Bryce Elaine, and this is my business partner, Colby. And we're here today to introduce to you the WeApp. We stands for Waste of Electrical and Electronic Equipment. It is an acronym widely used in international law, and it is used in international law, to deal with e-waste. And I'm talking about the smartphones, the laptop computers, and the tablets that 3 billion of us use every day. WeApp is a software application that utilizes key enabling technologies to engage electronic device users precisely when their product is being prepped for retirement. When prompted to action, WeApp engages the user as an intelligent assistant, providing timely information and access to convenient recycling solutions. The crippling problem in the e-waste market today stems from consumer uncertainty at product end of life. One may be aware that their device ought to be recycled, but the ambiguity of how to accomplish that task results in people either storing old devices in their garages or secretly throwing them away. The result of consumer uncertainty is 75% of electrical and electronic equipment ending up in landfills and incinerators in the US, and 82% is thrown away worldwide. This is not only an environmental burden, but it is also a waste of extremely recoverable and valuable material containing a host of precious metals. The 70% of global weed that is recycled goes to China for processing, often ending up in informal recycling facilities with little to no environmental or human health regulations. While governments around the world have taken action to combat the problem e-waste poses via legislative measures, this approach has proven to be very difficult to enforce. The consumer, as the owner of the product, reigns as the ultimate decision maker as to the fate of electronic devices. And while collection and recycling facilities do exist, the uncertainty of their access has proven that these establishments are also ineffective in combating e-waste. The positive aspect of current WEEE legislation is that it has created a surplus of funding for the recycling of e-waste in the form of mandatory fees imposed on manufacturers and consumers of electronic devices by government entities. If products are not collected and recycled at end of life, these fees that manufacturers and consumers are currently required to pay go unused, and the surplus of funds increases. By accessing the consumer at the most influential moment for device end of life, the WEAP is poised to profit from this growing funding source, which Colby will touch upon in a moment. Engaging with the consumer at the right time is crucial to successfully handling global e-waste. WEAP uses on-screen user analytics to examine user actions and is prompted when actions that are commonly associated with intent to dispose of the device are observed, such as transferring software licenses and wiping the hard drive, to name a few. If such behaviors do not exist in certain circumstances, the WEAP will also prompt users at predetermined junctures, depending on product lifespan data, typically 18 months for smartphones, 2 years for tablets, and 4 years for computers. And those are timeframes for when people typically are getting rid of those devices. When prompted, WEAP asks a simple question. Answering yes provides the consumer with the alleviation of having to personally store an old device and of the legal consequences of throwing the device in the garbage bin. When the user clicks yes, WEAP makes two offers. Either drop your device off at a local recycling facility or mail your device in with WEAP's prepaid shipping label. When the user opts to drop off their device at a local recycling facility, WEAP makes it convenient by offering drop-off locations depending on location and will send directions, a calendar invite, and a QR code that will track their device to ensure collection has been accounted for. Does the WEAP have competition? Existing competitors have proven to be unsuccessful. Best Buy is the leading take-back retailer of e-waste. However, they have only been successful in gaining 3% market share. Like the few electronic recycling apps and collection facilities that do exist, Best Buy relies on the consumer to proactively engage with their services, whereas the WEAP engages directly with the device user at the right time, just before the product becomes obsolete. And this leads to our market advantage. WEAP is the only e-waste collection solution that engages directly with electronic device users in a timely and informative way. We are also the only software application solution providing an opportunity for electronic device manufacturers to pre-install the WEAP and also have it coincide with operating system updates. And as a software application solution, our product has far less overhead than traditional e-waste collection methods.
Just how big is the market? E-waste is the fastest growing waste stream in the world. There are 2.5 billion new devices shipping in 2014 alone, which means 2.5 billion new devices are likely entering retirement. The latest UN report suggests the market will grow by 33% between now and 2017. It's approximately 65 million tons of e-waste, 82% of which is being trashed. With China now leading the world in e-waste production, the US following just behind, there's a tremendous opportunity to increase collection and recycling rates of our growing e-waste. How do we make money? Well, WeApp has 3 opportunities at cashing in on this huge problem. The first one is from manufacturers themselves, because they are mandated by legislation to contribute funds towards collection and recycling of the devices they put on the market. There are funds for WeApp to access immediately. The second, advanced recycling fee. Again, legislation is mandating in some states and some countries that consumers pay a fee at point of purchase. Again, that fund is growing. WeApp can access those funds immediately. Third, custom software license. This is unique to the WeApp in the collection space of e-waste. We intend on working directly with manufacturers and operating system providers to ensure the WeApp is installed on new devices before they ship. With operating systems, we intend to work with them to ensure when they send an update on existing devices, we can be infused into existing devices. This pro forma budget looks at the US market alone, since this is our market entry point. We forecast a 1% market share initially in 2015. Collecting 39 million pounds of e-waste will generate a revenue of $8 million. If we grow at 2 to 3% rate, by our 5th year of operation, we should have 10% of the market. We'll be collecting just shy of 400 million pounds and generating $77.5 million. Because we are a software company, we have low overhead. We should have just shy of $200 million in the bank after 5 years.
And I'd like to add to this slide that this is only considering collection as an opportunity for revenue. This is not including the fact that we plan to license our software app to manufacturers like Apple and Samsung as a pre-installation on their iPhones, for example.
We're currently seeking investment. We do not have a product that's ready to go. We believe product development will take us 5 months. We also need to secure intellectual property. We believe that $1 million should sustain product development, IP, and 10 months of operation, which will include building the team that we need. Currently, there's just the 2 of us. We need about 10 people, we believe, to bring this to market hard and fast before competitors can catch up with us. Why are we the right team to disrupt this industry? Both Bryce Lane and I, we met at Oxford 11 years ago. Since that time, we've started 3 profitable business ventures. They're all environmentally focused. Most recently, I've been consulting with an organization that has been working with the United Nations Environmental Program and working directly on waste prevention manuals as a co-author. So we do have the experience in this space. We understand the laws, we understand the policies, and we understand the funding mechanisms. So WeApp will be poised to grab the funds that are available in a way that no one else is currently doing it in this market.
And I'd like to add to that that a recent consulting opportunity afforded us a place at a United Nations meeting where we were able to work with the various stakeholders involved with the e-waste dilemma, ranging from government institutions to the manufacturers themselves. The problem that everyone cited was collection. We have to get a solution to get these products from the consumer to the recycler, and that's where the WeApp is the solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
hey, thanks for your presentation. So, could you just say a little bit more about the concept of pre-installing an application which observes behaviors or uses some sort of time-based prompting for recycling? That seems like a very new concept, and I'm wondering how you validated it.
So the idea of establishing a time frame on existing devices when we might be watching very intently, there's this reliability engineering. You know, every manufacturer that's developing a product, they're testing their service lives. It's mean time before failure. They have this calculated. It is proprietary information, but we believe that we can be working directly with product manufacturers to
to understand when they think their products will fail, so we can time our application accordingly. It is proprietary, so it's not available to everybody at this point in time. Secondly, we're going to be observing user behavior. So the idea of being pre-installed on a device, that comes from these meetings that we've had with the United Nations, where Apple's in the room, where HP is in the room, and they're saying, we've got to comply with the law. We have to collect the devices we put back on the market, but we're not actually doing that. So instead, they're paying fees because they're not complying with the law in every state, in every country. So we believe they'll be interested in our product to ensure they do collect what they put on the market.
Thank you.
Well, I'm still trying to get my head around your concept here. So you've got a behavior, an app with some, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what actually the intellectual property is that's defendable there. But beyond that, is it just a listing? How are you solving this collection problem that you described? It's not clear to me beyond providing a list of here are 10 companies you can go dump your stuff at.
Yeah, do you want me to take that?
So the app is giving information and access to convenient recycling solutions directly to the consumer when they, and the key is timing. So we're saying that when you're about to get rid of your old device and you're excited about your new one, that's when you really need to be engaging with the consumer. And that's where the user analytics are coming in, where we can read behavior like wiping hard drives and transferring contacts and software licenses and so forth. So it's engaging with that consumer and saying, here are solutions to get your equipment, your old equipment, out of your house and responsibly recycled.
And the second part of your question, we intend on engaging with that consumer throughout the process. Just because we've notified them that they should recycle the device doesn't mean the conversation stops there. We are going to collect their contact information. It's either their cell phone number, so we can send text, or their email address. So we can continue to prompt them if they have not returned their device. Because we have a QR code, if that QR code has not been scanned, we know they have not returned that device. So we continue to engage with them until they do what they need to do.
Any other question from the judges?
Have you engaged any major cell phone manufacturers such as Samsung? And what is your expectation of the sales cycle with a manufacturer like that for a preloaded and cannot be deleted application?
We have not engaged with major manufacturers at this point. We're about 2 months into this business plan. We've developed this. This is really the first stage that we've opened this up for discussion. So it's a very, very important conversation that we have very soon.
Any other question from the judges? Probably take one more. Comments? Anything? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, and we're moving on to our 5th finalist team, Bell Eds Technology from MIT. So Bell Eds was founded by MIT alumni with the mission of developing smart LED lighting products which are wirelessly connected to the internet to enable social interactions as well as innovative ways of mixing colorful lights with music to enrich life and create a colorful and joyful living environment. Let's welcome Bell Eds Technologies. Bell Eds， 对。我刚 V app 我介绍是那2个人啊。对。我怎么不记得？我怎么知道？你去吃个饭回来就疯掉。下一个就最后就是。
Hello, everybody. I'm Patrick. I'm here to talk to you about Bell Eds today. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be. We're on the clean tech track, and I found my team, and we're all very passionate about sustainability. And we realized that we want to make the world a greener and cleaner place, but we can't force everybody or guilt everybody into doing so. And really, what we want to do, the best way we found, is to build the best products that happen to be green and clean, and make everybody realize that's where the value is. So, if we look at this picture, this is a picture from like a typical 1960s American living room. And a lot of things have really changed. for the better. Probably interior design has been for the better, right? But a lot of things haven't changed. And one thing staring us right in the middle is lighting. Hasn't really changed at all. So when we were thinking about this problem, we looked at lighting, like, hey, maybe this is an industry we can go into and really change something. And we look at the way we interact with lights. Nothing has really changed in the last 100 years. You know, I live in a studio apartment. I'm a poor MIT student. And I have 10 light switches in my room, from not only the ones on the wall, but your floor lamp, your desk lamp, the bedside lamp. I have 10 switches, and that's a lot of switches. And I think there's a lot of ways to innovate there. With a lot of switches, you get a lot of wires. Nobody likes wires. Not even hardcore engineers like us like wires. We don't like wires. They're just useless complications, right? And then we also examined in the same space home audio. So home audio we've seen some interesting things, and we're thinking, hey, maybe we can use some of that technology in the same way. And what they've really done, and we really want to change this archaic way of lighting and audio controls. So we're looking at our solutions that's out there, and we really like what's being done in the way that controls are being done and pushed through smart devices now, through your smartphones, through your iPads and different things, your computers. And so we decided to introduce the smart LED light bulb, what we call the Q Smart light bulb. And this is a LED, so it's highly energy efficient. And we can control all the visible spectrum, all different lights you can get. And you can control dimness, brightness, everything. It's all controlled from your smartphone. You can control up to 100 different light bulbs with our application. And also, we can stream all different kinds of music through a cell phone, a smartphone together. So we created this kind of ecosystem, the environment of your living room. But they're really two different products, lighting and audio. And people use them for fundamentally different things. Use lighting like for this room, to see, to do things, to take a shower, to cook. You really need light. And so it's highly functional. But music, audio, people use it for a completely different reason. We asked ourselves, we did primary market research, we asked people, and it's very simple. People use music to feel something, to experience something, to change the way they feel, to remember a feeling they had when they first heard this song. And so we were thinking, is there any way we can really use lighting to give people that same experience or enhance that experience? And I believe the answer is yes. And we've created our product, which we call the Bell Q, that you can create an environment where lighting is part of an immersive experience. The lighting can play along with music. It can dance along with your music in different ways to create different environments. And I'll give you some examples. So January and winter is coming upon us. Imagine you're living in Boston, and it's cold, and you haven't seen the sun in over a week. Okay? It's coming soon. But imagine you can wake up every day to a warm sun glowing brightly at first. Slowly at first, and then brighter and brighter in your room. So you feel warm, and playing along is your favorite wake-up music. It could be workout music. It could be birds chirping along, to really get you pumped up for the day. Now, fast forward a little bit. You're coming home from your hard day's work, from school, and you're meeting your significant other for dinner. And you really want to create a nice atmosphere at home. And you can do that now. You can play your favorite smooth jazz and create that nice atmosphere with mood lighting to create that perfect environment. And finally, I think for most people in this room that are really going to like this is our party mode. So basically, that $1 million sound system that you have in clubs and lighting systems that you have at clubs, we can recreate almost that entire feeling in your own home. You have to find your own friends to come over and party, but everything else with our system, you can create. So the key features of our system really comes from our Q-Wave technology. So our Q-Wave technology allows us to unlock a whole plethora of things that we can do. We can create very energy-efficient lighting schematics, themes. We can customize lighting solutions. We can have 5 lights in this room doing one thing, 7 lights in another room doing another thing, and combine them together to do different things, all along with music, playing in different ways. So we talked about the music sync is very core to what we're doing. Also, notifications. This is one area where we want to iterate and actually move further into, is that imagine you're in the shower, and the fire alarm goes off and you don't hear it. Or someone's ringing your doorbell and you don't hear it. With our smart lighting solutions, we can have lights in different rooms flash a bright red color or some kind of light that warns you, hey, there's something that you need to pay attention to. And finally, we want to collect a lot of behavioral data to iterate further. So meet Bobby. Bobby is a 35-year-old engineer. He lives in San Francisco. He's married with one child. He has $200K income, household income, enjoys music, joins the sustainability movement. He's all-around nice guy. He wants to do the right thing. And so from him, we found that this market, the residential LED lighting market is about $30 billion US dollars a year. The smart residential LED is about $1 billion a year. And we believe we can create a music and lighting industry that's about $150 million a year. So our analysis here, we do everything better than what's out on the current market. We offer more functionality, and we have more compatibility with every kind of technology existing. You can stream any kind of music to our technology, whether it's iTunes, YouTube, anything, it'll play on our technology. So we've been working for about a year now. And earlier this year, we were selected for the audience prize at the Clean Energy Challenge. We did a Kickstarter, so we've sold product. We raised about $100,000. And this month, we're going mainstream. We're going to be on Touch of Modern. And next month, we're opening our Amazon store. So these are some of our financial projections. Basically, by year 5, we hope to ship about 750,000 units. So our potential secondary markets. So we've been able to find through a lot of primary market research that home security is a huge market that people would be willing to pay for, and that could really complement what we have by putting that Bell station in people's homes. And we're also looking at commercial lighting from hospitality, entertainment industry, and also green building analysis and user data. And finally, from the lifestyle perspective, again, the notifications and interactive ways of using light. Finally, I'd like to introduce our team. First, I'll introduce Michael. He's an MIT student here, worked at IBM as a software developer. Wilson, I'll just call him. He's a Harvard architectural design student. He's also done a lot of residential design as well as lighting design. Alan Zhou, he's also a PhD from MIT about 20 years ago. It was EECS, and he's basically a real guru in the lighting and also wireless technology segment. Xiaolu here is a veteran of the marketing of lighting industry, working for companies like Sylvania. And Daniel and Eric have been basically working tirelessly as our design team. And I'll introduce myself a little bit. I'm a Sloan Fellow here at MIT, about 15 years of experience with both large and small companies, some startups, some successful, some not so successful. I'll cover basically the media of what we've been doing. We've been covered by a few of the media blogs and tech blogs, I should say, that have been following us because of our Kickstarter and other things that we've done successfully. And so with that, thank you. And as we say, enjoy your life in color. And we'll give a very short. Well, I don't know if we were allowed to. We ran out of time. So. Well, go ahead. Party mode.
So I'll ask you one more serious question, and perhaps one of a more personal interest. Starting with a personal interest, you described two. You articulated two examples. One is, waking up in the morning and the romantic dinner at night. My question is, can you have a mood for getting rampant kids under control? So that's one.
Sure. Actually, so part of our technology is open source. So you can program your lighting schemes as any way you want. If you want certain colors, if you want to flash in a certain way, it's all up to you. And you guys can share all these different color and music schemes together. as a community.
Okay, I thought you MIT guys would have figured that out, but the real question is, can you elaborate? What's your go-to-market strategy here? You just said you got an Amazon store, but perhaps you can elaborate on that.
So, actually, do you want to answer this? Or go-to-market?
We targeted some e-commerce, the new e-commerce channels for our sales channel. And so right now we have signed some contracts with Amazon and a touch of modern because we don't want to go to some traditional stores to sell our products.
And down the road, we also have the potentials to partner with like wireless speakers, home security, so we can offer a whole package and be a one-stop shop for the customers.
Yeah, that's right.
As a hardware product, what is your margin? What's your gross margin at launch, and what's your projected gross margin 12 months from launch?
So because we're targeting a very niche market, we are able to capture lots of values and therefore maintain a high margin. As you can see here that we start with 70%. Of course, we budget in some pricing erosion over the years, but overall, we're still maintaining over 60% gross margin.
We can avoid a lot of the cost of goods sold and cost of customer acquisition early on. We're basically raising money before, we have sales before we need to produce. And that has helped tremendously. Yeah.
Oh. Any other questions from the judges? Oh.
So there are so many smart LED products on the market, right? As a consumer, I cannot care less about your technology, Z-Wave or other waves. Could you summarize, recapture, what are the fundamental differences of your product versus product from GE and other providers?
That's a very good question. And what's your definition of smart lighting? I see it as mainly wireless control, which is something we can do. You turn the lights on and off wirelessly. You change the color wirelessly. Yes, we're not the only one who can do it. But we're the only one in the market right now who can tune the music together with light. You can do it some other ways. You buy stuff from one store and the app from another store. You put them together. Are they compatible? Maybe yes, maybe not. Good luck. But we own our technology. We own the platform. We can ensure that it's compatible. That's what differentiates us from the other players in the market. So in short, we're combining music and light together.
So I'm the consumer. What do I need to buy, and how do I make this happen in my room? What is it that I need to do?
Yeah, maybe I can introduce. So what we are selling is, sorry. Well, we are selling is a regular standard light bulb, and also a hub. That's it. And actually, right now, if for the people who use smartphone, actually they already can control our light bulb. If you connect our this wireless hub. No, it's not included.
Okay.
So briefcase or cell phones, they're not included. So it's very easy installation. So light bulb exchange, everyone knows how to do it. We have the hub, and you're going to get the free app. So that's all you need. Very simple.
Great. So, thank you. That concludes finalist time. Okay, and we're transitioning to our last presenting team, Syntec Medical Systems from Northwestern Universities. Complications from adhesions after surgeries add an estimate of $4 billion in U.S. healthcare costs due to readmissions, extended stays, and additional surgical procedure. Syntec solved this problem by repurposing an FDA-approved coating and employing it as an effective anti-scarring film to separate adjacent organs from adhering to each other after surgery. Let's welcome Syntec Medical Systems.
I'm Eric Robinson. I'm co-inventor, co-founder, and CEO of Syntec Medical Systems. In September of 2004, former President Bill Clinton underwent open heart surgery. 6 months later, his left lung collapsed due to excessive scarring and fluid buildup. This required a second and invasive procedure to both remove the scar tissue and restore proper organ function. This complication is very common in surgery today. At Syntec Medical Systems, we are preventing surgical complications with contact barriers. These contact barriers go to prevent internal scarring, commonly referred to as surgical adhesions. So surgical scarring, this differs definitely from something that you would have on the skin. Scarring on the skin happens in a very finite method. However, unfortunately, internally, scarring pathways are different. Because of the compartmentalized nature of the organs, it is very difficult to attain kind of a regular organ function after damage has been done during surgery. So if we zoom in here, we have two surfaces. One or either of these surfaces could be damaged during surgery. Now, it's very difficult for the body, after damage has been done, to discern between these two surfaces. What occurs is there's a surgical band or bridge which forms after the fact. What do these surgical adhesions actually look like? Well, I'm going to show them to you, but be forewarned, these images are quite graphic. These are actual surgical adhesions in actual human beings. Something very frightening. So you can imagine your organs are literally fused together. So there's a significant amount of pain and discomfort felt by the patient, let alone difficulty in the surgeon having to remove some of the scar tissue in order to restore proper organ function. So what do some surgeons actually say about surgical adhesions? Well, going back to President Clinton's case, his surgeon at the time, Dr. Craig Smith, said adhesions can't be prevented. There's nothing out there that's beneficial in preventing adhesions. And other surgeons have said similar things. This is an unavoidable consequence of surgery. Nothing is effective, and there's an urgent demand need for effective anti-adhesion barriers. So what is our solution? This is a Syntec film. Here we've been able to repurpose an existing biocompatible polymer. There are perhaps tens of thousands of patients with this same polymer somewhere in them because of existing medical devices. We've been able to repurpose it as a film. How will it be used in surgery? The surgeon will take it with their instrument. This is during a laparoscopic procedure, but it can be used in both. They'll then insert it into the patient, identify the traumatized area of the surgical procedure, and then it'll actually be affixed to the traumatized area, effectively separating then the organs from the body cavity surfaces, preventing surgical adhesions or scarring from occurring. How are you at risk for surgical adhesion development? Well, that depends on what body cavity you're going into. Whether it be the chest cavity, the abdominal cavity, or the pelvic cavity, you stand a pretty high risk, or even including neurological procedures, you stand a pretty high risk of developing some sort of scarring event. And that determines. In President Clinton's case, it was decreased cardiac output, a collapsed lung. If we're talking the abdomen, we're looking at bowel obstruction, which actually can lead to death. In the pelvic cavity, this actually disproportionately affects women, infertility being one of them. And in the neurological setting, it can cause significant pain. There are actually 3 products approved by the FDA to prevent internal scarring. But what's troubling about 2 of these products, which just so happen to be the market leaders, they were approved by the FDA in 1989 and 1996. So that's state-of-the-art technology. 18 to 25-year-old products are state-of-the-art technology. And I'll show you now their efficacy or the actual performance when implanted compared to our film. So when we implanted our film into rabbits, we attained an 86% reduction in surgical adhesion formation. Looking at market leaders or the current market trends, they barely attained a 50% efficacy level. What's even more so is their actual versatility of the existing products. As you can see here, they can't be used across both either open, traditional procedures or laparoscopic, minimally invasive. In addition, some of these products can't even come into contact with blood or fluid. I'm not kidding. Some of these products can't be exposed to blood. If they are, they have to be removed and another product inserted. In addition, they can't be sutured into place. What's even more distressing is if a patient presents with surgical adhesions, there are really no effective products after the surgeon has cut away the scar tissue to be placed there. All the existing products today rely on only preventative measures. So there's really no existing products once you come in and present with a surgical adhesion. What's the total market opportunity? Well, the current products have around a $300 million market, which is somewhat low. But what's interesting is when you do some analysis and actually look at the reimbursement codes tracking these, you're looking at a 15% market penetration, which is quite low. Amazingly, this market continues to grow. How does this affect the patients? On an annual basis, there are 500,000 repeat procedures just to remove scar tissue. That's it. Adding somewhere between $3 to $4 billion a year annually in healthcare expenditures and cost. That's repeat procedures, extended hospital days, you name it. The cost just skyrocket from there. Our team consists of a number of different engineers as well as an accounting and finance specialist. We have subject matter experts as advisors in the field who have dealt with surgical adhesions and related products. In addition, we're part of a number of different mentoring organizations and medical device organizations assisting us along the way. What's great about this technology and what we've been able to show to existing physicians is we already have 3 surgeons on board to do clinical trials. We have letters of intent and interest from them. What's great about this is that they span the whole length. They're both cardiologists, cardiothoracic surgeons, neurosurgeons, and also general surgeons, encompassing both the abdomen and the pelvic cavity. And with further development, they are very interested in pursuing clinical trials with us. We already have, being that this polymer is already used in the medical device industry, we already have a full supply chain in line. Not only do we have primary vendors, we also have secondary vendors for contingency plans. With the supply chain in place, we've been able to attain an $18 cost of goods. And if we set our price point around $200, mind you, existing products are priced between $250 and $300. We attained a 91% profit margin. Some of our financial projections include investment. We are looking for a 3-stage tranche investment utilizing, a 3-stage transfer investment utilizing convertible notes with market entry in the various markets, either abdominal, cardiac, or gynecological at year 5, set at 1%, 0.75% and 0.25%, as you can see there. And again, we do attain a 91% profit margin at year 5. Some of our projected milestones, we have already applied for non-provisional patent status this year. In addition, upcoming, we are going to be applying for SBIR grants to both the National Science Foundation and National Institutes of Health, who have expressed a significant interest in this technology. In addition, we do foresee attaining regulatory approval in early 2016, as well as with some post-market analysis or surveillance the following year, at least to the end of 2016. With that, because of the unmet need and the simplicity of the technology and how we can outsource fabrication and processing, we do foresee 2 different exit opportunities pending similar milestones that we do achieve. With that being said, we are Syntact Medical Systems, and we are preventing surgical complications permanently. Thank you.
Anyone have questions?
Could you speak to the challenges and market opportunities outside the U.S. and the regulatory pathways outside the U.S.?
Yeah, outside the U.S., it'd be involved chiefly with the CE mark, because a lot of the other countries, I think, in and around Europe and also in Africa and the Middle East, accept kind of a CE mark. And so that is something that we would be pursuing. I can't really speak, with the consultants we've talked to, they can't really speak to the difficulty, both either comparing the U.S. and then obtaining a CE mark. But we've just been told to obtain kind of an FDA approval initially and then move into Europe once we have some initial traction here in the United States. Although it could be conceived, I mean, there could be some consultants that say, attaining a CE mark would be easier. But we've attained a lot of different feedback from varying sources. But I think for now, we hope to stay in the United States.
So I have a quick technical question.
Yes.
So what is the polymer?
I don't want to divulge information. I know we have a personal patent pending. Okay. But yeah, it's nothing difficult to find out. It is relatively available. So we do not have IP on the polymer itself. No one does. We do have it for the application and the manufacturing process that allows it to kind of make a film. So.
Could you talk a little bit what your clinical trials look like?
Yeah, so the clinical trials, so if we do plan on going through a 510(k) approval, And from what the consultants and some of the other medical device companies we've had feedback with, they don't envision requiring clinical evidence for this product, at least to attain that. Now, it would be better for us to attain kind of a small pilot clinical trial to get some data to be able to better market the product, per se. So we would be looking at, depending upon what region of the body would vary. So in the cardiac, it most likely be some sort of maybe 6 or 12 in the follow-up. Similar in the abdomen. In the abdomen, the pelvic cavity, they might want a second look procedure, where oftentimes I think, at least in the cardiac space, we've been able to get away with a CT scan, just assuring you can kind of prevent scarring to the sternum from the surface of the heart.
I'm just wondering if you're considering a comparative effectiveness trial against the existing products, because that's going to seem to be a big portion of your marketing push here, that you
exactly.
work when
It could be,
don't.
yes, it could be. Because we're very different and unique from those products, those products are based on a resorbable polymers and resorbable makeups, where our polymer is actually non-resorbable. So you have a little bit of a difference there in both the safety and effectiveness of the polymer already approved. That's where you have a little bit of a differentiating factor. We might have some leniency in that regard. So.
Does any other judge have questions? No? Any comments? No.
Thank you. Okay, so we are busily calculating the scores in the back. We will release them as soon as we got them. But for now, we want to invite all the judges to come up. We're gonna have you guys give some really general quick comments about the contest to all the contestants. And we want to recognize all of you for taking your precious time. Thank you. You guys can come up stage. Yep. Can the judges come up? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, can the judges come up stage? Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Just line down the middle. Thank you. 快结束了，等你们讲完，一颁奖就结束了。Hello. Hi. So we just want to take this chance to hear all of the judges' insights. So I'm going to pass this mic down, and then if everyone can just give like a quick comment on to all the contestants and to people out there who wants to start their own business.
Sorry, what was it?
Just any comments about
any
the
general
teams and
comments. Yep.
this event or
Oh, I thought everyone did a great job, and I think some of these technologies are very exciting, and it's very impressive to see how far some people have gone with very little money. So I think that's a good thing. Everyone should do that.
So quick question for the audience. Who in here is or would like to be an entrepreneur? Show of hands. All right, a lot of you. So here's my next question to you. If you look at 6 business plans you've seen here, many of which had pretty detailed financials, paths to markets, et cetera, how many of you think that one of them or more will go the way that was laid out in the presentation? Really, nobody? So that's the right answer. The thing to bear in mind is that what you've seen here is really useful and it's constructive, but it's theater. And it's theater because nothing ever goes straight. Every company pivots. Nobody's business plan goes the way that you expect. The things that you're assessing as an investor or as a partner when you hear a pitch like this is not, here's what's going to happen. It's here's how the entrepreneur thinks and here's how they approach problems. And think about that if you're preparing to give a pitch like this in the near future. Don't think about whether the plan's the right plan. Think about how you adapt to problems and how you engage and talk with potential investors.
I think most of the teams didn't have the maybe the time to mention their milestone or plan for fundraising, how much they are going to raise, and where they are going to use this money. So probably that's, I don't know. I don't remember any team mentioning that, right? How much money they need and how much they're going to spend in the years to come.
He said what I wanted to say. They are great teams, great models. So yeah, I wish I studied medicine before. 4 out of 6 are medical related. They're good. Good.
Thanks, Bob. I've heard a lot of really interesting people talking about their project. There are a lot of great technology coming out of this crowd, this community. That's why we keep coming back and coming back. But the biggest challenge here is the failure to adopt in the marketplace, because I've been hearing a lot of people passionate about their technology and they're going for a full stop, one-stop shop and setting the product to changing in the future. But really what really matters is how do you motivate people to adopt, to start using your product. And setting the future always is one thing that entrepreneurs tend to do with investors, which is always great. But really what I care about is what's the immediate next step? How do you make sure that you already have users starting using your technology? And then you learn from them and learn from who's going to be the fast adopters, who's going to be really motivating to benefit from your product, and then have this stepwise progression. That's really how it built a business, and not really selling the dreams, but having some actionable plan is something I would like to see.
So I happen to be in another startup competition that was hosted by Wall Street Journal just 2 or 3 weeks ago in California. And I just realized, because this is my second time doing this, and I just realized that there's a lot of startups that was also with a social mission. I think that the one that won the Wall Street Journal prize was also a not-for-profit startup. So I think that it's not right to compare a company with a social impact with a pure for-profit startup. So I think that if they are separated into 2 groups, let a company decide which group they want to be competing with. And the company that's in the social impact group will be judged on the social impact plus some financial profits. And for the for-profit groups, they'll be entirely judged upon their money-making potentials, because when you mix these up, every judge has a different price for different kind of social impact. Number 2 point is that one of the company I look at the light bulb company. I really like the product, but I was looking at the financials. Right, they had this exponentially growing revenue, but their cost was like growing linearly, but very small steps. I think one general advice for companies forecasting the financials is that you should never underestimate your ability to rack up huge expenses, especially when you're growing your business. So you want to be realistic in that. Thank you.
So we have a few people from Silicon Valley, California. Myself, Xiao, Eugene. Eugene and I came from a fund called Teak Angel Fund. So we meet every Sunday, 5, sometimes 6 teams. So we see a lot. In Silicon Valley, you see a lot of software companies, tiny companies with 8 million, 10 million crazy valuations. So from here, this is different. Boston is different. I was here last year. We are here this year. We see a lot of different startups. And I'm very happy to see today that we have a lot of, at least 3 or 4 companies that is solving social impact, energy, green. But as you just said, it's different. When we look at those startups, when we look at those ventures, we should probably look at them through different set of criteria, different perspectives. But I'm very happy to be here. I look forward to work with Boston community and the startup community even more. Thank you.
quick addition. Yeah, it's TK Angel Fund. We have put in about $12 million into about 90 companies so far in the last 4.5 years. So my impression for this year is it's very broad, very diversified sectors, clean tech, health tech, mobile, smart homes, or covers a lot of areas. It's a very good match for our fund. Actually, we do cover all of them. So I want to quickly make a comment to two companies, actually, because we did see a lot. The first one was the Rapid SOS. That's impressed me a lot. They build a lot of backend. That's really difficult to do. But I think the front end is a little bit weak, for people to, as Mr. Xu mentioned, it's very difficult to change. So it may be just an idea. Maybe people dial 911, they can hijack, intercept that layer. Or maybe for people to say it's free, but you pay when you call, something like that. I didn't get how to go to market right, but the back end, it's very, very impressive. It's just the front end, how to get a user adoption, I didn't get it. So I was not convinced. So it's definitely like many other judges mentioned, it doesn't, you don't make an investment decision by 10 minutes. You need to look into furthermore. So I hope the team can get that part improved. Another quick question is on the e-waste company. As many audience see, the presentation style is very different. So because the two founders are coming from very different background, I know they have a lot of public policy background, but in the startup world, the presentation is done very, very differently. So it's the way you present it, it's very kind of special. It's all say not very common in terms of the presenting. You want to get a story out, you want to define the product. So I think you talk a lot about the market need, the policy side, but not enough on other key, go-to-market, how to build a product team, all that stuff. Maybe you need an engineering team, sounds like. It's a quick comment, okay.
I want to start by saying that all the teams did a great job. What a great job you all did. I think they deserve a hand from everyone. So you all put in a lot of work. A lot of work. Many presenters must have practiced nights, to get to this polished point. So congratulations. I like the diversity of these business plan competitions. You go from medical devices to party mode to solving 911 and waste collection. So the diversity is great. I really like the ambition of some of the startups. You're really out there trying to change the world. I would like to echo one of my co-judges that this is a show, right? This is the beginning, and there's all this execution that comes afterwards. The performance for quite a few teams were a little interesting to look at. So you've got work ahead of you. Just focus on, just making it work. Today is a day, it's a presentation, it's a show. It's wonderful you got here, but it's all about the execution the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that fantastic presentations, and love to see the diversity of ideas there. And kind of just to reiterate again, two things that my previous judges said. One is that the most successful companies that we've dealt with have been companies which were nimble enough to go with this original idea, but there always is a pivot, and it's not this originally. But they were flexible enough. And also open enough to accept kind of that pivot and then ultimately do something a little bit or maybe significantly different. And then the other point I wanted to kind of reemphasize, someone compared how hard it is to judge kind of the social, green technology type companies with this other type startups. I think the other differentiation, which is really hard and difficult, is life sciences and medical device companies with the other companies where your revenues are going to be maybe 10 years down the road. You're going to have negative revenues for an awfully long time, where that's hopefully not true in the other spaces. So, but good luck to everyone.
Okay, so I'm the third in the row to comment on the great presentations that everyone made, and so that's just wonderful. Thank you. I do want to say in the healthcare, life sciences, medical devices space, that it's a little bit, and maybe this is obvious to those of you that are working in it, but I want to emphasize it because it's been obvious to me for the many years I've worked in it, that the payer, the person who actually controls the money, sometimes that's called the economic buyer, is often very, very different and in a state of change now, in fact, compared to a particular consumer or similar kind of product. And it tremendously challenges the development activity and the go-to-market strategy because you ultimately have to get the money. I have a friend who has been telling me to follow the money since well before that famous line in that somewhat famous movie. And so this is a big challenge. And I would encourage you to pause and pause again and pause again and make sure you're connecting with the economic buyer and make sure you have a pathway that works for that. In some way that makes sense for your product. So again, great presentations. Thank you.
When you're looking at new business opportunities, there's three questions you're trying to answer, right? What is the opportunity? How do you access that opportunity? And then how are you going to extract value from that opportunity? Those really, at the end of the day, those are the three things you're trying to figure out in any business. And it's very, very different. We are here trying to make this judgment on some fantastic presentations in the span of 10 minutes. So we're making judgments across those three things. We are looking at really, and I'm an energy guy. I'm trying to make judgments on life science that I know nothing about other than the pills you take once in a blue moon when you get a cold, right? So it's really what you look for in each of those is, do you have a sense from the team around, are they getting into the nuances and the depth? Demonstrating nuances and depth around some of those three questions that gives you a sense that they've done the homework. And you heard many of the judges tell you, the one thing you can be certain about the business plan you presented today is it's dead wrong, right? But again, you have the depth and the nuances and understanding to do those pivots that we know are coming. And so that's the thing that I think I want to try and bring out in these presentations as you go on. But great job, everyone.
I am Joe sitting there, standing there, Joe's colleague. We came from Beijing. It's really interesting to see a very diversified group of presenters. Today and last night, we actually got to see more teams. Coming from where we are, I think, the feeling I got is, it's a very refreshed look at startup companies, because back in China, today we also at our company we make some investments, right? So we look at a lot of deals and a lot of companies. The interesting thing is, today if the name of the game is internet finance, then you will see 1,000 teams, going after the internet finance, space. And 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when Groupon became really hot in the world, in the rest of the world, right? There's 5,000 copycats in China. So, we actually came from an environment where, to borrow one word that Joe was talking about, which is mimicking, right? Everybody was really mimicking. There's 1,000 Zyngas, there's 1,000 Groupons, and there's 1,000 landing clubs now, I think, as I count, right? But what we see here, especially in Boston, right? Yesterday I was commenting to Joe that we see a very diversified group of companies, right? People are addressing real problems, and some of the problems you guys are addressing are mega problems, right? And I just want to say to you guys that regardless of some of you guys will make a huge impact economically, some of you guys will make an impact hugely in terms of social impact, right? Go for the really big problems and go for those really unique problems. The world probably needs only one Groupon or maybe 3 Zynga, right? Because game, you need diversified games. But the world has so many problems to be solved, right? So go for the really big ones and be different. Address something that you really have passion for. Another quick comment, right? With you guys standing here, presenting your ideas, it reminds me of 11 years ago when I was starting my first startup company, right? So there's no business contest like this that I attended. But I got the first money from Joe sitting here, so standing here. So, a lot of times you will go for, the VCs pitching, all those guys. But, typically in real life, when you're raising money, you typically got the money from families and friends. So pitch to these guys and you will get your money. Thank you.
Thank you.
And pitch to that guy too.
Thank you all the judges. We have prepared a little gift for you, which we'll give out right now. Thank you all for taking your time. We have the scores ready, and we will announce that really shortly. And you have the slides.
Screen.
点一下就放了，现在放吗？
放啊，
放。
不然再等什么？
没反应。
喂，
声音呢？
声音。
你也 announce。Okay.
Hi everyone. We're about to announce we're about to start our ceremony, and first we're gonna announce third place.
But first, I want to invite our sponsors up on stage to give out the awards. I would like to invite Teresa, Eugene, and Jingling to give out the third place awards. We have 3. Thank you.
And now I'm gonna announce the third place. So the first one of third place is We App. Can We App please come up and get the award? And then the second team of third place is Green Points.
Yeah, sure.
And the third team of third place is Bell Ads.
Thank you. Congrats. And next up, we'll hand out the second place winner. I want to
I'm gonna invite the sponsors to come out and give out the second place awards. I'll invite James Liu and Victor Wang Qiang to come up to give out the awards.
Okay. And our first second place winner. Our first second place winner is Rapid SOS. You guys come up. Thank you. Okay, and the second team to win second place is Syntech. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now we're gonna announce the first place winner. Let's invite the sponsors come up and give out the award. We're gonna invite Xiaoping Xu and Zhou Chen to come up to give out the award.
Yes. And this is the moment you guys have been waiting for, but you guys did probably some elimination. Our first place winner is Promethean Pharma. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys.